I think the last 3 episodes, maybe even the last episode, we get them reunited, all of them, right? We see a suited up vigilante, another thing we haven't seen so far this year, right? Like, and I think, I'm just gonna throw out, one of the 11th Street kids dies.
Yeah, I think so. I think Vigilante, Chris, someone dies. Welcome back to the Breakroom. Peacemaker, Season 2, Episode 4, need I say door, does open the door to some more answers about what really the QUC's backstory was. Yes. Also confirms that Red Saint Wild does have something like the Red, his ability to astral project. An insane episode, but as we look ahead to the rest of the season, it really seems like the way the season could end in the final 3 episodes could be wild. It could be insane. Even this promo for the next episode, episode 5, seems to be making some bold choices. But James Gunn has said throughout the season, episodes 6, 7, and 8 are going to be a different show and are going to set up Man of Tomorrow. So how will this show end? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode of The Breakroom. I'm Erik Voss, and I will be having this discussion with Zach Huddleston.
Thrilled to be here. I can't do an eagle sound, but... That's my best.
Really want to taste it. Now, where'd you get that shirt, Zach?
This is from NerdRiot.shop. Now, Eric's been wearing the Eat Peace shirt. This is a different shirt called the Crest of Peace. It is also available. It more prominently features Eagly, and there's technically just Peacemaker's helmet, not an actual Peacemaker. NerdRiot.shop. This was a good episode.
Yeah, it was
a bit
okay.
of a transitional episode.
I thought it was just an okay episode.
It felt light on plot and development. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't get a ton of new information other than the information we got about the QUC. Not a lot else happened, though we got a lot more Michael Rooker than we'd previously gotten this season.
Yeah, a bit too much Michael Rooker's character in this. I'll say that. Because structurally, yeah, we do have some great scenes, some great sequences in this. The opening sequence of finding out that the QUC was not invented by Augie, invented by this other alien creature, whatever it is, a trans-dimensional being. Super interesting, brings up a lot of questions, especially now that we know that Augie is not a brilliant genius inventor. Who made those other helmets that Chris has been wearing since we've known him? So there's a question there. The whole sequence of Chris running out in the woods and Judah Master just flipping to catch up with him, and that fight was so cool. And then these great scenes with Chris and Leota, just like, I thought that was such great writing and great acting by the two of them. But just as an episode, is this like as good as Breaking Bad, even season 2, where you have a full arc within an episode? No, it feels like transitional.
It felt like it needed 20 more minutes.
Yeah,
it really felt
did.
like as it was ending, I was like, oh, this felt like the first half of an episode of TV, right? Like, there was some action set pieces, whatever, but like, we never went to the alternate dimension.
Right.
Right? Like, we got like 4 seconds of vigilante, like, the plot went from like get out of the house to he got out of the house and then the episode's over, essentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, John Economos stalling, I felt like everybody else yelling at John Economos, like, just get on with it.
Felt like the show was stalling.
Yeah, it felt like like James Gunn is like, I can get enough of an episode out of this, and then we'll have other stuff happen in episode 5. Like, I'm curious to see when we see episode 5, if it feels like, oh, you could merge that with episode 4 to have like a real episode. Also, are we already seeing kind of the strain of writer burnout from James Gunn, considering he wrote this and Creature Commandos and Superman all in the same calendar year of 2023?
I will say, let's go ahead and put the hater cap on. Even though I like this show, and we're going to have a lot of positive things to say about the show, you mentioned you like the scenes with Chris and Adebayo.
Yeah.
I think some of that dialogue could have used another pass.
Oh.
As she's kind of preaching at him. Chris, the grass is not always greener. You have to appreciate the here and the now. Humans don't talk like that. Also, like, that is a little lame. I'm just saying, like, you know, that could have been done. I get that that's the message you need her to convey to him. I feel like it could have been done more artfully.
I do hear what you're saying. And I think this is something that James Gunn defaults to a lot, is characters just kind of like internal monologuing and preaching at each other in ways that are not always the most naturalistic or are just kind of stream of consciousness in a way that like James Gunn might be as coherent as he is as he's writing, but human beings aren't necessarily are. However, I do think that a lot of TV content features characters talking in ways human beings don't talk.
Sure.
All of Mad Men, all of anything Aaron Sorkin has written, no one talks like that. But in those instances, it's heightened in a very quippy, fun way. You know,
it's prose. It's gorgeous.
It's Shakespeare.
Right?
It's almost like modern iambic pentameter.
Yes.
In this case, it's James Gunnian. It's a type of language that he writes in, but in my opinion, it works. It works because there is an emotional truth and like an emotional honesty that I feel like I don't see enough in shows. And or it's kind of baked in kind of like layers of nonsense. Whereas James Gunn kind of cuts through that nonsense and is just having characters like really try to help each other in a way that feels wholesome, in a way that like I really do like. And at least for Leota in that moment, it doesn't always work for me. I will say that there are times where it happens where I just kind of annoyed by it. In this instance, Leota was coming from a place of having had this relationship with Chris since season 1, where she knows Chris as someone who saw his ghost father at some point. So this is the second beat of that conversation where she's saying like, are you sure this isn't a Twilight Zone thing where you're disassociating and you're just kind of wish fulfilling? And her mentioning God at the end of that, I thought was just interesting. Like, God wanted you to be here. Like, James Gunn doesn't often talk about his religion, but every once in a while, he'll kind of touch on, like, he is an interestingly spiritual person. So I find it interesting that Leota in that moment brought up God to Chris, because these are characters that, like, I don't think this is going to be, like, a religious show by any means, but I don't know. It felt like there was an authenticity there that I felt. Despite overall thinking this episode was kind of a snoozer.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I hear you out. And I feel like James Gunn's dialogue is either it works for you or it doesn't.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, most of the time it works for me, with a couple exceptions. I won't name all of them here. Some of them are some of the actors on this show.
Yeah, for sure. James Gunn falls in love with some actors on the show, and it doesn't always work. I think it's when characters all start piling on each other and making fun of each other and like bickering. That's where I don't like every time James Gunn does that.
No.
Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes like in the Argus truck, I was like,
It doesn't, and here's a lot of people are going to dislike this opinion or going to blast me for this. I think Steve Agee's bad, and I don't believe Steve Agee any of the time. I don't think his line delivery is good. Right? Like, and even seeing him next to somebody like Tim Meadows, who I think is a much more talented comedic actor.
Yeah.
And he says equally ridiculous things, but I enjoy it coming more from him than I do from Steve Agee. And like, this episode was 40% Economos.
I think that was it. It was like 40% Economos, like 25% Michael Rooker as Red St. Wild. And Michael Rooker is very compelling. I like Steve. I think Steve Agee is funnier than what you're seeing on the show, but I do think in more reserved doses. I think he has. I get what you're saying though. Like, I think it's more of just the character of Red St. Wild is so unhinged, but like the fact that I know some of you are gonna be like, oh, Eric, whatever. The fact that like his cultural appropriation of this stuff was validated by actual powers at the end of the episode, and we haven't seen him like fall on his face yet. I know we did see him literally fall on his face, but that needs to backfire on him because he is literally culturally, he's not presenting as a Native American person.
And they kind of call it out jokily, but then ultimately he is justified in that he has these like incredible spiritual powers. Yeah. You know what James Gunn said on the After Show podcast? He was not the original actor cast for that. They cast somebody else and had shot with another actor.
Whoa.
Vigilante style, they fired him. He called up Michael Rooker last minute. They reshot stuff with Michael Rooker and recast. Now, I'd be fascinated to know, was the original actor indigenous? Or was he another white guy?
I would be... That would be a major issue if it was, and I don't think he would have fired an Indigenous person and replaced him with Michael Rooker.
I
don't think so.
No,
that would be crazy.
I think for any kind of compliment of the good actors, like it just wasn't working out. And again, that was in season 1. Completely different actor was hired to play Vigilante, and they had shot stuff with him before they fired him and brought in the Ultimate actor.
When speaking of Vigilante, don't you think we're not getting enough of Vigilante this season? I don't like the writing for him this season.
And what we do get are these weird like animal.
Yeah,
things.
I don't get that joke.
It's purely bit driven. We don't really. There's no arc to him at all, right?
And I don't find it funny. Like I don't understand what the. Like I feel like a robot who's trying to read Moliere. Like maybe there's a joke there, but I am. I don't get like.
Do you think
children explain to me what the joke is?
It said he's dumb.
Yeah, but that's not a joke.
The joke is look at this dumb guy. Which, anybody that's watching Alien Earth knows that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's just having to watch too many scenes with really dumb characters after watching an episode of Alien Earth. I'm just like,
and now,
just give me an episode of The West Wing where everyone in the room is actually very smart and knowledgeable and they're fighting over different things.
You can let people be good at their jobs. It's actually incredibly entertaining to watch people be good at their jobs. And I get this as a comedy, so like you need a lot of buffoons.
Yeah.
I guess that figuring out a way to make their buffoonery sustainable and continually novel is the challenge of a show like that. And so, like, whatever, let's pivot out of the hatery. But I will say, like, episodes like this. Now, episodes like the premiere, or even the last episode with that incredible action sequence fighting the terrorists, right? Like, I'm invested. It's incredible.
And there's some mystery there with what's happening in this other dimension.
Yes, and like physical comedy in the form of this wild violence that is really engaging. I feel like that's when the show's at its best. And a more talky, kind of secondary character-driven episode like this is when some of the cracks show. Yeah. So I look forward to, maybe this was, again, just kind of a transition episode heading into a different phase of the show, and like it picks right back up.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna happen sometimes with these weekly shows. You're gonna have some weeks that just kind of feel like a back step. Should we, do we have the promo for episode 5? Okay, Brian's gonna pull up the promo for next week's episode 5.
There's a couple of things about that I'm really excited about. Rick Flag Sr. and Chris finally meeting. They haven't had a scene together so far in the show. And it's like, I'm glad. I want that. That is kind of a core conflict this season, and I want that to be a thing. So I'm excited to see those two characters meet.
Yeah, and I think there's stuff that James Gunn is not showing us in this promo on what will happen in episode 5. I'm sure that's the case. Every other promo for the next week's episode is kind of withheld some stuff. Yeah, those two actors being in a room together and finally just like being able to come to terms or not come to terms. Yeah, I guess we probably shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, that is interesting
crazy.
Artistic choice to open that trailer with that kind of footage, given the current state of the world.
And knowing that you probably cut that promo before this week's events happen, it's just kind of like, whoa.
But also, they could have easily cut that part of it out. Yeah,
just
the promo still works.
Snip. It's not too late. You can use the YouTube editor to take out that. Yeah. Whoa.
I think other things in that I'm interested in. Every episode so far this season has started with a flashback, including the previous episode 3's flashback to Harcourt and Rick Flag Jr. Kind of post-coitus, right? Like showing us a little bit of their relationship before the events of the Suicide Squad. Seems like we're maybe going to see some scenes set immediately after the events of the Suicide Squad. This is an interesting topic, and I feel like we could talk about a couple different things here. The amount of retconning that is happening this season, right? Like, obviously, Harcourt was in the Suicide Squad film. It was not mentioned that she was a love interest of Rick Flag Jr. in that movie. No. And in fact, like, she's at Argus headquarters for the duration of the movie, never kind of acknowledges, there's no, like, goodbye hug or like, oh no, I hope he's not dead or anything like that. Also, she failed to mention in the entirety of season 1.
It did not come up. I'm okay with this retcon because I think it speaks to how she is compartmentalized. Sure. And she has always had a tension with Chris Smith. And I think, in season 1, we just read it as he's kind of an asshole. Yeah. But, like, I think it deepens the context of her antagonism toward, or her hesitation to get closer to him. I like that fix. it is crazier that James Gunn just seems to be plucking one Enchantress from the David Ayer Suicide Squad. Like, it just makes it messier. Like, and he had an opportunity to just have a cleaner break. And as of episode 1, I thought it was going to be a clean break, but nope, it's going to be piecemeal. And it's kind of like, okay, well, it gives new Rockstars stuff to talk about. But if you want there to be less homework going ahead, and I think what he's saying is that you can go off of the previously on enough and not feel like you need the homework and just trust. I think he trusts himself to be able to write it well enough that people won't feel like they're missing out on anything. But for the people who do want to be invested in this universe, for the inner core of true believers, people who go on YouTube and watch analyses and go on, Reddit and X and other places talking about stuff, Discord, like, you don't have to be as piecemeal with this. You don't have to say it was specifically the Enchantress from the David Ayer era. You can just introduce us to an Enchantress played by some other actress to make it easier. Yeah. But he's not doing that either.
Well, let's put a sound just happened. I don't know if somebody donated bits or something like that. Whatever, if you caused a sound to happen in the studio, thank you. And I want to get to, after we talk a little bit more about the episode, we're going to talk about what's to come on the rest of this season, including, like, what cameos are we going to see from outside the realm of this show?
What is, why are they saying episode 6 and episode 8 will be the craziest episodes of the season? Is it just full-blown multiverse? Is it like Rick and Morty, Citadel of Ricks?
Even James Gunn has said recently, he said yesterday in the podcast, that there's a scene in, I think it's episode 6, that is the most fun scene he's ever shot.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that will be. I feel like we're going to see a Blue Beetle. Are we going to get Sudeikis Blue Beetle? Because Sudeikis did the voice of Ted Cord in the Blue Beetle film. Who was over the radio frequency. Does James Gunn commit to that?
Is that too weird? Because we haven't seen him in, like, don't you want to see Xolo Maridueño's?
And he will be. He will be coming.
Both.
Yeah.
We'll see both.
James Gunn has said a lot that the Xolo Maridueña version of Blue Beetle, that he is DCU canon and that we'll see him in other titles. But when that actor was asked, are you going to be in Peacemaker? He kind of played coy and he said, there are a lot of Blue Beetles out there. And I think from that, people are like, okay, well, maybe that Sudeikis' Blue Beetle will be. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let's pivot now into, like, who are we going to see on the show? Because the other big news since in the last week-ish, right? James Gunn talking about Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he said that Peacemaker Season 2 will set up Man of Tomorrow. It feels like some of the timing of him announcing Man of Tomorrow and doing a little mini press tour around that might be tied to Peacemaker. I mean, he's kind of using it to promote Season 2, but also maybe he wants to announce it first because it's going to become evident when we see all the episodes of this show.
Yeah, I think so too. He wants to, like, get ahead of this news, and he doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that makes me think, I'm going to list some characters, Eric.
Okay.
And I want to bounce them off you, the likelihood we see these characters appear in this show.
Okay.
Starting there with the two leads of Man of Tomorrow, David Cornsweat's Superman.
I think like 80%.
Yeah, I would agree. High likelihood.
Yeah, high likelihood.
There's a little bit tit for tat there too. Peacemaker showed up in Superman. Kind of makes sense. And I think Superman would show up in Peacemaker.
Cornsweat was on the set in costume, like we know from set photos. So I just think there was, the productions were happening around the same time, but most of the production for Superman was happening in Cleveland. Peacemaker was mostly shot in the Atlanta area. So I think he will be.
Now, is there a chance David Cornsweat was the original actor that Michael Rooker had to replace?
Oh, I don't think so.
No. Yeah. Zero chance. Okay, well then, on that same note, Lex Luthor.
I would say 70% chance.
A little less. I mean, people have kind of speculated, does Rick, ultimately Chris ends up getting arrested again, sent to Belle Reve, who's in the cell next to him, Lex Luthor, or something like that. They cross paths.
Or there was that mentioned breakout from Belle Reve that could have been Lex, and then maybe that's like if Man of Tomorrow is going to be set up from these final 3 episodes, I think like very high likelihood that both Cornsweat and Holt are there.
Yeah, and then I think you'll probably agree these are less likely. Any other Superman supporting cast? Lois, Jimmy, any of that crew, or maybe other Luthor Corp employees?
100% confirmed that Otis and Sidney Saperson are going to be there. Those 2 actors are in some trailers. So we know 100% they'll be there. Rachel Brosnahan, I feel like I'm at a coin flip, maybe 50-50. Other characters like, Skylar as Jimmy or Beck Bennett as, what's his face? The reporter. Sports broadcaster. Or Eddie as Mr. Terrific. I think I'm kind of at like a 30% for them. I just think we're getting kind of big now on the cameos. But I think like the big Superman cameos are going to be Holt and Corn Sweat.
Yes. I guess the one thing on Mr. Terrific, the fact that he was kind of the only Justice Gang person we didn't see.
Yeah.
Could that have been? Now, maybe that was he wasn't available.
And we saw his outline, I guess.
Yes.
Do you think we see... Oh, what was your question?
Oh, in the interview sequence, he wasn't there, right? Maybe that's because he wasn't available, or... Was that because they wanted to save his appearance for something more special later in the season?
Maybe. It's just like, is it going to be that special to see Mr. Terrific? We love Mr. Terrific, but like, if you could have a big cameo, there are bigger ones that you could do than that. Do we see Kara Zor-El? I mean, as the next DC movie?
I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I feel like Millie Alcock
wanted to hype something, it lines up with the production timelines, right? Yeah. On that same note, I feel like that's another 60% or above likelihood. Now, maybe less likely, Clayface. Live action Clayface.
See, I don't think so because I think Clayface is going to be kind of a prequel.
Okay.
I think Clayface, we're going to have like, there was a set photo showing the Flying Graysons print ad. So I think Clayface is going to be like a few years in the past.
Mid-century kind of.
Yeah. Do we see live action versions of
the Bride,
David Harbour and Indira Varma as the Bride and Frankenstein, and are they like 9 feet tall?
And a lot of people have speculated, do we see G.I. Robot?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think if it is Earth X, we need G.I. Robot in there.
Here would be one more piece of evidence towards that. James Gunn made a point of talking about in the after show that superhero costumes are incredibly expensive and hard to do well. And he cited, what's the name of Keith's, the brother's superhero persona?
Mr. Victory or Captain Victory.
I guess that costume in particular, like James Gunn hated the original draft, made them make a new one, blah, blah, blah. It took a long time for them to get it right. And he said actually it's more expensive to do a superhero costume than it is to do a fully CGI character.
Whoa, really?
According to him. So that would be an endorsement of a cameo of somebody along the lines of a G.I. Robot or a Weasel or somebody, I don't think you'd want to do the Bride fully CGI. That'd be weird in a show like this.
But if you did it to her like She-Hulk, like
you could stretch out a normal actor. Yeah. So there's that. Any other Creature Commando characters? What about? Do we see another Suicide Squad character, either from the Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad? I was thinking. This is a stretch because she's a giant star who's very busy. Margot Robbie.
Is it Robbie?
Robbie. I always say it the wrong way, so however I said it is.
Come on the show, Margot.
Come on,
prove us wrong.
Tell me.
James Gunn did recently share an image of like the animated Harley Quinn, like praising the character. I think he wants Harley in his universe. I don't think it's Margot.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like she's expensive.
Yes. Do we see Aaron Pierre or Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart? Do we see a Lantern other than Guy Gardner?
I mean, that was my prediction earlier on in the season. I'm less certain about it. I give it like a 30% chance.
Yeah. It feels like tonally that show's gonna be very different from this show, but it doesn't take place in the same world. Do we see an as of yet uncast or unannounced character arrive in this show that is going to be a big deal when they are revealed? I guess Sudeikis' Ted Kord is kind of approaching that degree. Do we see somebody playing Booster Gold on the show?
Yeah.
Tonally, that feels like a good match for this show.
I don't know who, but I think someone is revealed on this show. Like the way they're talking about it, the way James Gunn wants to use these opportunities to like really start planting some flags in his DCU. Yeah, I think someone. I don't know if it's Booster Gold. I don't know if it's let's see, other Commissioner Gordon or something like that of this universe. I think that I don't know if it would be a Robin or a Batman. I think that would be too far. But maybe some other Batman villain existing in this world, a Harvey Dent.
Do we see somebody from Themyscira? We know that show is still in development.
A live action Cersei or something
Yes,
like that.
and we know like he's used those characters in Creature Commando. Yeah, that could be kind of interesting. I like the Commissioner Gordon character choice and who that might be. I mean, it would be very fun if in the episode it's a known actor. That is a surprise, and the first time we know they're playing that character is when they pop up on screen.
Does Creature Commandos go to Gotham? Like, they've talked about Gotham. Kia and Leota used to live in Gotham. Does this season end by showing us their apartment? And maybe just outside their window, we see some of a cityscape with the bat signal.
Oh.
Do we go to Gotham?
It's a fun gimmick. It's equivalent to seeing the Justice League at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't really serve a narrative purpose. It was just cool as hell.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of a fun gimmick. Well, I guess on that note, you know who else I thought? Who we know, this character's been announced, but we haven't seen him yet. Do we see Jason Momoa as Lobo for the first time? Also, I mean, doesn't make sense that he'd be hanging out on Earth and in this random city necessarily, but like kind of tonally fits on this show. And Jason Momoa showed up for season 1.
I don't think we see Lobo in season 1 or in season 2, just because I feel like James Gunn wants to save that for the trailer of Supergirl,
which
could be coming
soon.
Could be coming in November. I think we'll get it before the end of this year for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have I'm gonna give you my quick pitch for the last 3 episodes. Not like in a ton of depth, but like we've spent a lot of this season, other than like a rooftop barbecue, the 11th Street kids have not been hanging out.
Yeah.
And they haven't really been on a group mission, right? A lot of the last season was built around like them going on missions, getting into trouble together. They've been very disparate and pulled apart. I think like whatever's going to happen on Earth X, you know, whether it's like all the rest of the 11th Street kids have to go save Chris, or he comes back and now they're fighting Argus or something like that. I think the last 3 episodes, maybe even the last episode, we get them reunited, all of them, right? We see a suited up vigilante, another thing we haven't seen so far this year, right? Like we see the whole crew going to do something, giant battle sequence, big fight, something crazy, big cameos, whatever. And it kind of ends on that. And I think, I'm just going to throw out, one of the 11th Street kids dies.
Yeah, I think so. I think Vigilante, Chris, someone dies. I would even say maybe even Chris. Like, how much of a future does James Gunn, is there going to be a Peacemaker season 3?
They haven't announced one.
Hasn't been announced.
And Homeboy could greenlight anything he wants, so.
I mean, it'd be a pretty big deal to kill off characters this early in like the launch of the universe, you know, like major characters. But you know, it's just like the history of Peacemaker, Chris Smith, as written on the show. It's kind of like a full arc story of toxic masculinity, right? So if he is able to come full arc and like learn that lesson, like what more do you really do with the character beyond that? Is he just like a team player who's going to show up and beat people up? I feel like there's plenty of people in the DC world who can just play that physical threat, you know? So it's like, you know, in the MCU, most of the time we only got character development in the course of just a 2-hour movie. To have a character at the early stages of a universe where we get to spend as much time with them as we've gotten with Chris Smith, like, it'd be weird for them to just keep showing up in team-up movies or something like that. You'd have to limit them to just cameos in movies. It'd be weird now to have what other stories do you tell with a character?
And he has a fun cameo. His 10 seconds in Superman was really fun, right? Like maybe you keep him around, you don't kill him just so that in every other movie he can show up on a TV show or something like that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you can completely solve the subject of toxic masculinity in 2 seasons of a show. Like, if James Gunn looks at Peacemaker as a series, as a way to address this in its different incarnations, you know, like you have Chris Smith, you have Keith, you have Augie. Now we're having Amelia Harcourt. You have Judo Master. You have Economos. You have Flurry. They all kind of have that in different shades, right? That's, I think, clearly his agenda with the show.
Maybe Rick Flag in a more professionalized version of it.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. So, like, that is a subject that we'll even learn new things about toxic masculinity over the next couple years in America, you know, that I'm sure James Gunn will be eager to explore in some scripted form. Yeah. So if you want to keep Peacemaker going just as a way to be like, okay, well, what happens when, like, technology shifts in this way? What happens when politics shift in this way? Or what happens when, like, you know, these kind of things can happen to us in our lives? Like, I can imagine him wanting to use Peacemaker to explore that.
It will be interesting, don't you think? A big part of it too is like how excited is James Gunn going to be to keep making live action TV? You know what I mean? Like this season was greenlit before he became the head of the studio, right? And at least some of the work was done on it.
Yeah.
Since then, now the man's being able to make a Superman or Superman adjacent movie every 2 years. That's a full-time job, right? And then maybe you squeeze out an animated series here or there. Maybe he's like, yeah, we can put Peacemaker on ice. I'll have him die saving his friends or whatever, because I may not have the time to devote it. And he's definitely not going to hand this character in this show off to somebody else.
No, yeah.
Right?
And even if like we don't get a future season of Peacemaker, it does not have to end with him dying. Let's just be clear.
Yes.
A character's stories can end by him sailing off to Valinor through the Grey Havens. You know, there's which I guess was a form of death.
Yeah, the equivalent of hanging up.
Yeah, there's other kind of endings for them. I just don't know, like, if you have to still leave Peacemaker broken or still unevolved in a state of arrested development if you want another season out of him.
That's a good point.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take some other questions. A lot of comments from our friends on Twitch. On YouTube, Seattle KO says the whole animal trivia stuff has been pretty meh from Vigilante. Yeah, we talked about that.
I hope it pays off in the same way that bird blindness paid off. And these aren't just like bits. Because as standalone bits, they're not that great. But as maybe potential things that pay off later could be very good.
It's just the best writing is when the bit itself is also really fun and you don't realize it's setting
and it still pays off.
And then it surprisingly pays off. Yeah. Christian Unpronounceable, thank you again for 5 community gift subs on Twitch. Marvel Pirate says on Twitch, can we bring up 2 things? One, Michael Rooker is playing 2 different characters in Gunn's universe, even though one was already killed. I think James Gunn's going to be very okay with recasting certain characters. That is a dumb Marvel rule that Marvel used to hold itself
Nathan
to.
Fillion, same thing.
Yeah.
Also died in Suicide Squad.
Yeah. That's a good point. I forgot that he played multiple armed
TK or what was his name? Yeah.
The multi-armed kid or whatever. Detachable kid. And then 2, Marvel Pirate says this is the first showing of magic with his Eagle Vision. Do we think what do we think his actual power is?
Yeah, so
I don't think I was surprised he had a power to begin with.
Which it could have, as I'm watching it, I was like, is this just this guy losing his mind or did he take some peyote or something like that? But then he accurately found where Chris was. So it's like, that wasn't just a weirdo acid trip, like it worked. So it kind of, that confirmed there was something, he does have something going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest. I don't know what to make of it. Brandon Variant on Twitch says, on the official pod, James Gunn said that every episode begins with a flashback, and Jennifer Holland clarified that the flashbacks involved every character in our main timeline. Which character's flashback are you excited to see? Got to be Vigilante for me. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, next episode, I'm curious. Judo Master might get a flashback.
Yeah, because we haven't seen a lot of Vigilante's past.
We don't know a lot about him.
Yeah.
He works as a busboy at this restaurant. Christian Unpronounceable says, on Christian Harloff's stream earlier, someone mentioned that he's been discussed on the Breakroom, and would he like to join someday? We like Christian. Yeah, Christian's a cool guy.
Show. I think he's LA-based. Right?
Yeah, I think he's around. Yeah, we're still figuring out like what we're going to be doing in the Breakroom in the next couple weeks, but yeah, we're open to it. Milkman I Am, thank you for your 11th month sub. Does Creature Commandos make one-time live action cameo in episode 6? Yeah, we were talking earlier on the stream. We'd love to see one of these characters, whether it's G.I. Robot or David Harbour as Frankenstein's monster, or Eric Frankenstein rather. Yeah. I hope so.
How they pull off some of those characters in live action, I kind of am just fascinated to see what it looks like.
I mean, we've already had it with Rick Flag Sr., which is already kind of an interesting choice. But yeah, I think I would love to see that.
Yes.
All right, that is our conversation about the Peacemaker's future and how this could all end. Now, let's talk about what's going to be happening on the Breakroom in the weeks ahead. We are kind of taking a break from the Breakroom. We are we are working on other stuff behind the scenes. So we're not planning on live streaming for the week ahead, the week of the 15th, or the week that follows, the week 22nd. Yeah. We will be back the week of the 29th, though, and then every week through the holidays. However, we might still pop in and stream. We might have some guests coming into the studio. Something fun may be happening. We'll let you know if we start streaming. We're just not planning on it just because we have like a lot of other shoots that we're doing, even on this stage that we do the break room on with the human beings that require us to do this show. We have some outages. We're going to have some people out of town, and it's just going to be too hard to like guarantee that we'll have three of us for sure, or even two of us available to do a stream. And it's really hard for one person to do a stream because I'm telling you that one person has like 8 other things that they're going to need to do over the next 2 weeks at New Rockstars in a given workday. So we are taking a break from it. But we're if you're watching this as a post-stream upload on Monday, September 15th, this will be an upload that's coming out today.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, but we're not going to be live planned for the next 2 weeks, and probably no new videos uploaded for the next 2 weeks. We're just taking a break. I also mentioned on Wednesday when we talked about this, it's also been a hell of a run through the summer.
Yeah.
We've been very busy. We just need a little bit of a respite. New Rockstars is going to keep uploading as normal.
Yeah, no break from New Rockstars. In fact, you will see why. There's a lot of stuff we are doing on the New Rockstars channel. Gen V is starting, and we're sorry we won't be able to like do an after show for Gen V, at least for the first 2 weeks. But once we're back the week of the 29th, I'm sure we'll be talking about Gen V if you follow us for that show. The week of the 29th, there will be a lot of questions we have about Peacemaker episode 6. We'll definitely be talking about that there. About Alien Earth's finale. We'll be touching on some stuff there about Marvel Zombies. In October, it's just we expect things to pick back up a little bit. But these shows that we're covering are all kind of like, not necessarily lesser watched, but they're kind of in the sleeper eras of their seasons. And we kind of want everyone to be able to catch up before we all rejoin and have some questions that we answer on those shows. Also, like, it's pretty common for podcasts to just kind of need some time to kind of reset. And that's what we're doing right now. We did not expect to have to do this at the start of the month. We thought we could still maintain things. And then we're all starting to feel a bit of burnout in the middle of the month. So we just decided, you know what? Let's just take some time. But we will have a huge announcement coming to the New Rockstars channel about everything that our company is doing on Wednesday, September 17th. We have 4 big things that we're going to be announcing in that video. So Zach, what do we think those things might be? We're not going to say yes or no to any of the comments.
Coming out with a shoe line.
Could be a shoe. Could be we're tangling up ourselves in zip string and have to untangle ourselves out.
Untangled! Maybe flavored ice creams.
Oh yeah, garlic flavored.
Oh, You ever gotten down with a savory ice cream?
Yeah, if you go to Salt and Straw, sometimes you can have some. It's most of the ice cream I've had is still sweet, but it has some savory complementary flavors in there. So there was like almost like a honey fried chicken. Or it's like a turkey. There's like if you go to Salt and Straw,
like a Thanksgiving kind of
so
thing?
it's mostly a cranberry thing, but they have little bits of like turkey.
Ooh, well,
flavor
you get
in
little caramelized things. There was a place, the gelato place I used to like going to that did a brown bread flavored gelato, which maybe doesn't sound great, but it was incredible. Or even like, I guess nuts are kind of savory. And I love a
salty,
nutty ice cream. Did you think this conversation will go towards savory ice cream flavors? I didn't. What is one of your incorrect guesses for our big 4 things that we're going to announce?
I will say we will not be doing I will not be a contestant on Survivor.
Oh,
unfortunately.
As much as you would love that.
Yeah, I think in my head I'm like, sure, I'd love that, but I think I would die. I think 36 hours in, I would be airlifted out of there for dehydration.
Honestly, I mean, this is going to sound like a joke, but it's 100% true. I don't know if I can sleep without a body pillow, and I'm pretty sure they're not handing those out on the island.
Definitely
you know what
not.
I mean? So,
not. Yeah, but I think you guys are really gonna like the announcement that we have.
And so,
like it's one of these channel announcements. Sometimes you see YouTube channels do like channel announcement, and then you click on it, and they're like, "I'm gonna start putting chapters on my videos." That's not this. Actually, this is actual stuff that we actually have been working on that you're gonna get now, and I think you'll like it.
And we're really excited about it. And so we're half apologetic that we're not gonna be around for the next 2 weeks, but trust that we're coming back strong, both in the other projects we're going to announce and here on the Breakroom. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we thank you guys for your patience, and we will be back, and you'll be excited, I think, by the time. You'll understand in a few days.
Thank you all so much for watching. It's
Thank
been
you,
fun,
Zach.
Eric. Of
it's
course.
been fun. Yeah, it's awesome.
Take care of yourself, everybody. Bye.
Bye.